So we finally got the Honor Magic Flip's potential release date. Let's talk about it. So obviously, if you did not see, the Honor Magic V2, the foldable version of the Honor Magic phone, came out back in, I want to say, not August, July. And a lot of tech reviewers love that device. It's a very popular device. A lot of people say it was one of the best foldable cell phones out there. And we saw, of course, Honor have a lot of control of the foldable phone market. I say a lot. At least 10%. Which, compared to every company that's not named Samsung, that's actually a lot. That's actually very high up there when it comes to every company not named Samsung. Now, what does a company do when they have a foldable cell phone that's popular and successful? Flippable time! That's exactly right. They go for a flippable cell phone. Now, they could also go for a cell phone like this that does that, but that's not the choice. They don't go with it. They go with a flippable cell phone. And this cell phone, the Honor Magic Flip, has been talked about, rumored about, this, that, and third, a million different freaking times over the last year, okay? Just how it works. Google themselves said they were working on a flippable cell phone, but it didn't meet their criteria of what they wanted to put out, so they ended up canning the whole idea. Obviously, Samsung has the flippable version. Oppo has a flippable version. OnePlus probably going to rebrand the Oppo Find N3 Flip and just rebrand it to a OnePlus Flip. We're going to see that eventually down the line. Every cell phone brand who creates foldable cell phones creates a flippable cell phone eventually. It's going to happen. It's just a part of life, right? Motorola has their Razr series, etc. So when is this phone going to be coming out from Honor? Well, first off, it is rumored that it's going to be coming out around February 10th to February 17th in China. This is because China has their upcoming Spring Festival, and it's going to be released around that time period. Now, this will kick off one of our first flippable foldable phones coming out in the 2024 time period, which, to be honest, should be an absolute crazy, insane 2024. Should be a lot of flippable foldable phones coming out left and right. This is where we're going to see the Galaxy Z Fold 6, the OnePlus Open 2. We're also probably going to see the Google Pixel Fold 2. We're going to see some other companies go international. It's going to be a crazy time and a crazy year for foldable, flippable phones. So this is just kind of right in line with all those other things coming out that we're going to see. This is another company that's going to be releasing a phone, again, while everything else is happening. So let's go ahead and talk about what else can we expect from this phone. So other than it coming out of that time period, this is going to be very, very similar to the Galaxy Z Flip 6. Oh, sorry, Z Flip 5. Which is ironic because it seems like every company when it comes to foldable phones now is not copying Samsung anymore. It used to be the fun thing, oh, just copy Samsung. Do what Samsung did with their foldable phone and that's what you release. Well, now because of Oppo and OnePlus, now it's like if you create an affordable cell phone, copy OnePlus. Create the Oppo Find N3 again. That's what you need to copy. That's the industry standard at this point for foldable, flippable, or for foldable phones is that. Now for flippable phones, Galaxy, Samsung still has the edge here. The Z Flip 5 is an amazing foldable phone. And that's probably what Honor is going to look like when it comes to their phone. It's going to have a beautiful outside display. I wouldn't say 144 hertz, but I wouldn't be surprised if they copy Motorola in that way. There's going to have a beautiful 6.8-inch inside display. It's going to have wireless charging. It's going to have waterproofness. It's going to have everything you would expect from a Galaxy Z Flip 5. That's what I'm kind of expecting when it comes to this phone. It's probably going to be powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor because that is, at this point now, the industry standard moving forward. We're going to see a lot of phones compete, kind of coming out with that. Now, I will say, it's hard for companies, I feel like, to really diversify themselves in the flippable phone game. And I'm not saying that the foldable phone game, they really diversify themselves too much, but with the foldable phone game, you can kind of say price tag. Maybe they go a little bit lower than, the other foldable phones. And they kind of do like that type of thing. but usually a lot of these other companies that release foldable phones don't really have the same specs as a OnePlus Open or as a Galaxy Z Fold 5. But I will say for the flippable phone game, it's really hard to distance yourself because Motorola literally comes out with a phone that's $1,000, and then they come out with another phone that doesn't have an outside display really, but it comes out at $600. So Motorola's already like, listen, we're going cheap as anything. Samsung already comes out with their phones, but then they discount them, it feels like, after a week or two of them coming out. So that's hard to compete with. And then obviously now, again, you're going to have a OnePlus Flip sometime. You're going to have a Google Pixel Flip sometime. So I will say overall wise, it would be interesting to see if this phone is international from Honor. That's going to be another interesting factor. If they go international, or if they just release this in China. My guess on this price tag of this phone is $1,000. That's what I'm expecting. And again, like I said, I'm expecting pretty much same exact stats as the Galaxy Z Flip 5. Now, I will say it does come with a 2420 milliamp plus a 1980 milliamp battery, which of course combines for a 4500 milliamp battery, which is going to be the biggest battery in a flippable cell phone at this moment in time. And that's kind of the only way you could distance yourself in any way, is just by giving us either more battery life, higher refresh rates of the screens, and that's pretty much it. Because Samsung already has everything else mastered and combined together and perfected, that there isn't really anything else you could add to this phone that would make it any different than Samsung phones or, Oppo's phones or whatever, unless you really go crazy with the cameras and maybe give like a crazy increased camera. Maybe it's like a 108 megapixel camera on it. I don't know. Like, that's the only thing you're really going to do to, change it up from what the Galaxy Z Flip 6 is going for. And I will say overall wise, I'll be interested to see, because if it is just released in China, it's not going to be that successful, and most people won't be, people won't be talking about it as much as like the OnePlus Open and all these other phones. Because when it's released in China, first off, most Chinese phones have bloatware loaded on them. They're hard to get with the Google Pixel, Google Store. It's hard to get the Google Store on them. They have to be loaded on there. And number three, it's also the fact that it's hard to find them. When they're not international and they're only released in China, first off, you have to buy them on secondhand websites. That's a whole process. A lot of times you have to pay scalpers fees, which is annoying. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's just not worth it to go out for those phones. Now, again, they're going to be very successful in China, and again, probably European countries too, if they go European, like they go that kind of general area. But when it comes to international markets, these phones, a lot of these Chinese phones, they just simply aren't really available. So, and also, there's also problems when it comes to Chinese markets, when it comes to certain SIM cards working. Not every single SIM card's going to work in a Chinese phone, just how it works. Some of them do, some of them don't. When they're international phones, that's when you get into kind of tough areas of like, well, if you have certain services, it's not going to work. I know, for example, India, if you buy an Indian phone from India, you actually cannot use an American SIM card. You have to use an Indian SIM card from India. So again, it just depends on where you are and what phone you have and etc. There's a whole bunch of problems, right? So it ends up not being worth the cost or worth the hassle. For example, though, if you do buy a phone from India, just a little side note here, you cannot use an American SIM card. But here's the thing. You can also not use any SIM card outside of India. And number three is that it will not let you unlock the phone unless you have an Indian SIM card. So you can't even use the phone for Wi-Fi as like a iPod pretty much. No. You have to have an Indian SIM card. So just a little side note, if you ever see a phone on Amazon or eBay, whatever, and it says it's like an Indian phone, do not buy it unless you are from India or in India or you have some way to get a SIM card from India, because you're going to have problems with that. But guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.